In this video, we use Azure Arc enabled hybrid workers with Azure Automation. Hybrid workers extend the functionality of Azure Automation outside of Azure and into on-premises or multi-cloud environments. Coming up, we go over how to configure and use Azure Arc enabled hybrid workers. Before that, please like, subscribe, click the bell icon for notifications of new content. Your support for this channel is greatly appreciated. Become a member for early access to videos, ad-free while private, and check out my courses on Azure Virtual Desktop and hybrid identities with Windows AD and Azure AD on udemy.com. Let's get back to it with the most important question, why? Why should we care about hybrid workers? Here's the value proposition. Automation of any kind is good. I think we can all agree on that. What makes Azure Automation great is we can use it outside of Azure. With Azure Automation, we can create automation scripts or runbooks in a centralized location. We can manage the code with Git if we want to add versioning and group authoring. And with a hybrid worker, we can extend Azure Automation to your on-premises or multi-cloud environment. Azure Automation provides a single solution for managing automations across the entire organization, not just within Azure. We extend Azure Automation's functionality outside of Azure by deploying hybrid worker agents on servers inside a private network, on-premises, or in another cloud. Both Windows and Linux are supported for the hybrid worker agent. A hybrid worker is a member of one hybrid worker group. We can add one or more computer to the group. Having multiple workers provides high availability if one becomes unavailable. The hybrid worker connects to Azure Automation over TCP port 443. No inbound ports are required. When we create the Runbook job, we target the hybrid Runbook worker group. The worker checks in every 30 seconds and runs the code locally. A worker can only be a member of one worker group. One important thing to note, we can add PowerShell or Python modules to our Azure Automation account so they're available to the Runbook. That doesn't extend to hybrid workers. We have to manually add the modules to the workers so that they're available on the Runbook. Be sure to update all workers in the worker group so the modules are consistent. The Runbook on a hybrid worker runs under the default system account in Windows and the NX Automation account in Linux. We can add custom hybrid worker credentials for the job to use if needed. Custom credentials do not support MFA. And something else to know, there are two types of Runbook workers. There's a system worker. This is used by update management and runs hidden runbooks to update the system. And the other type is a user worker. This worker is part of a worker group and supports runbooks outside of Azure. We add a user worker by installing an agent. There are two types of agents available for a user worker. The agent-based version 1 hybrid Runbook worker relies on the log analytics agent. The newer version is the extension-based version 2 hybrid Runbook worker. The extension-based agent relies on Azure Arc to add the extension to an Arc-enabled server. This is the most current option and we'll use it in this video. In order to use the extension-based hybrid Runbook worker on a non-Azure VM, we need to add it to Azure Arc with the connected machine agent. There's a wide range of both Windows and Linux servers supported for the connected machine agent and the hybrid worker extension. Once the server is Arc enabled, we can add the hybrid worker extension. Let's hop into the portal next to create a hybrid worker group. The lab has 2 Windows servers on premises and 1 Azure Automation account already set up. To create our hybrid worker group, we'll add the connected machine agent to add the machine to Azure Arc, then add the hybrid Runbook worker extension. Finally, we'll test a simple runbook to verify it runs on the hybrid worker. Let's go to our Azure Automation account to get started. Here we are in the Azure portal. Let's start by adding a hybrid worker group. Go to hybrid worker group. We have an empty user hybrid worker group, and if we go to system hybrid worker group, this one is empty also. But if we used update management, it would look like this. These are all system hybrid workers. We can't target them for automation jobs. We do that with the user work group. Let's go back to user hybrid worker groups. We'll create a new hybrid worker group. The worker groups are targeted for the automation job, not the individual server. Having multiple servers in a work group provides high availability. We'll create a new one, give it a name. Worker group 1 for this example. We can leave the hybrid worker credentials set to default. With this setting, the job will run under the local system account credentials on the server. We could add different account credentials for the hybrid workers. The job will run under the context of that user. This is helpful if you want the job to access something like network resources. We'll close that, leave it to default, and go next. We can add VMs at this point, but let's skip that for now and go next to review and create. And create. Once that finishes, we can hit refresh, and we'll go into the worker group. From there, go to hybrid workers. Click add to add a worker. There's a list of VMs that we can add the hybrid worker agent to, but these are all in Azure. We want to add servers that aren't in Azure. Let's fix that next. In order to use the version 2 extension-based hybrid worker role on a non-Azure VM, we need to add the Azure Connected Machine Agent, part of Azure Arc. Once the computer has that installed, we can use a lot of the same management options available for Azure VMs, including adding the hybrid worker extension. Let's add our non-Azure servers to Azure Arc next, so we can add the hybrid worker extension. Search for Azure Arc. If we go to servers, we don't have any servers yet. Go to add. We get a couple options to add servers to Azure Arc. For this example, I'll pick the first option to add a single server. This is for adding servers one at a time. There are other options. For this example, I'll take the simple manual way. By the way, if you'd like to know more about Azure Arc, leave a comment below. If I get enough comments, I'll add some Arc content. We'll click Generate Script. We get a prerequisite screen. Make sure servers we're adding have outbound port 443 available, and we have a local admin password. Go next. Select the subscription and resource group. I'll add a new resource group, Arc Hybrid RG for this example. Select the region, Central US for this example, and we're adding Windows servers. The servers we're using have access to the public endpoint. Go next to tags, and here we'll add some values to these tags. You can add whatever you'd like. My data center is at home. City is Minneapolis. That's in Minnesota. And the US. You can add additional tags if needed. Once finished, click Next. We end up with a PowerShell script that we can run on the service to add it to Arc. There's an option to download the script, or you can copy the script. Let's click Copy. Now that we have the script, let's hop over to our non-Azure server so we can add the connected machine agent. This step will onboard it to Azure Arc. Here we are on our non-Azure server. I'm going to paste in the contents of that script. And if you use the copy button, it doesn't include the line breaks. It pastes in as one line. So one other option, if you want to take a look at the full script, is either you can download it and then copy that full script over to the new computer, or we can jump back real quick and highlight the code that's on the screen, copy that, and then we'll paste that in. It doesn't need to be formatted this way. It just makes it easier if you want to look at the code you're running. But one important note before you run it: install Azure Chrome if not already added, and set that as the default browser, or disable IE Enhanced Security configuration. We need to sign into Azure as part of this install, and if Internet Explorer is the default browser with enhanced security, it will fail to authenticate. Once we have that set, we can highlight and run. This will install the Azure Connected Machine Agent. It may take a minute to finish. If prompted, open up with Azure Chrome, not Internet Explorer. Sign into the tenant with an account that includes the contributor role or the Azure Connected Machine onboarding role on the subscription. We signed in and now it's finished installing. Let's go back to the Azure portal. We'll go back to Azure Arc. In Azure Arc Server, if we hit refresh, we see our new Arc-enabled servers. If you have multiple servers that will be part of the hybrid worker group, run the script on each to add them to Azure Arc. Next, we'll go back to our Azure Automation account and add the agent. From our automation account, go to Hybrid Worker Group. Open up our Hybrid Worker Group. Go to Hybrid Workers. Click Add. It shows all available servers. Change the filter to Type equals Server, Azure Arc. We'll apply. Now we see the servers that have the connected machine agent. This example, there's two. One would be fine as well. We'll select them and then add. This step adds the Azure Automation Hybrid Worker extension to the computer, deploying it through the Azure Arc agent. We'll give it a minute to finish. The job finished. Let's refresh. Now we have our non-Azure hybrid workers in the worker group. Let's test it with a simple command. Go back to our automation account. Go to Runbooks. We'll create a new runbook. Give it a name, computer name for this example. Select the runbook type, PowerShell. Set the version to 5.1. Add a description if you like, and create. Let's give it a very simple command. We'll view the computer name using the environmental variable. This will simply output the computer name. Save it, and go to Test Pane. For the first run, leave it set to Azure and click Start. This lets us view the output without using the hybrid worker, and the output is simply client. Now let's switch to the hybrid worker. Select the hybrid worker group we set up, and start. It finished, and now it shows the computer name for one of the computers we added to the hybrid worker group. That's a good indication it's working. Let's exit the test and publish. Let's schedule a job to run on the hybrid worker group now that our runbook is published. From within the runbook, go to Schedules. We have to create a schedule with a new automation account. We'll go Add Schedule, go into the schedule, give it a name, computer name for this example. We can leave the rest set as default, create. And now go into Configure Parameters. Select Run on Hybrid Worker, and make sure our worker group is selected. And OK. And OK again. Now when the job runs, it will run on the hybrid worker. We can wait for it to finish or start it manually by going to Overview in the Runbook and select Start. Here we'll select our hybrid worker, make sure the group we created is selected, and click OK. That starts the job. Give it a minute to finish. Once finished, go to Output. And there is our host name. That is how to use Azure Arc to enable non-Azure servers as hybrid workers in a hybrid worker group. I hope this helps you with deploying an Azure Automation Hybrid Worker group with Azure Arc-enabled servers. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.